welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley here in Washington, D.C. Keep your eyes on tarpley.net from day to day. That's where you find the latest essays. I've got stuff up there about the Robin Hood tax. I've got a call to stop Obamacare and enact Medicare for all at $100 per person per month using a clawback Tobin tax, Wall Street sales tax, by ending the wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and stopping the bailouts and clawing them back. You could afford Medicare for all. Offer it to anybody who wants it. If you don't want it, take your chances. But a lot of people, anybody with a brain, is going to want it. And make sure it's fully funded with no death boards, as in the Obama version. The historical parallels, where we've gone through two on Mussolini, right? Mussolini's fascist corporate state and Mussolini's election fraud law of 1923, 1924, which then ended with Mussolini consolidating a dictatorship. We've also seen that we're approaching ungovernability in an economic, political sense. Again, it's not just the partisanship of the mind, but it is the economic disaster that's going on. Some factions get the axe. Some factions are thrown out of the lifeboat. They fight back. They paralyze the legislature, and there you have it. In the current situation, it's back to everybody is getting paralyzed. Everybody's getting dumped overboard except Wall Street. That's the only interest that counts. In New York State last year, in 2009, you reached a point of ungovernability, and it continues now under Patterson, with Rahm Emanuel and the Obama White House attempting to force the governor of New York out. David Patterson should be the victim of a putsch, a coup, like the one we had in Prussia in July of 1932, quite similar, to throw out the existing government and bring in an austerity dictator. And that would be Ravitch. And Ravitch would rule by decree, and he would say, if the legislature doesn't give me the austerity measures I want, if they don't fire enough teachers, fire enough cops, fire firemen, state workers, if they don't increase taxes, if they don't raise the interest rates on the state bonds to please Wall Street, then I will simply rule by decree. And if I don't rule by decree, there'll be a Big Mac financial board. Here we see the hand of Felix Rohatyn from the 1970s in New York City. I will have the Big Mac make those decrees. Now, we're approaching that point in Washington. Two possibilities. One is that the Obama health care bill will not pass. This would be, in many ways, a good thing. In certain way, a blocked situation is the most that you can hope for, provided that there's some organizing process that's leading towards an alternative capable of providing a way out. However, if Obama's health care bill is simply blocked, we will have reached the point of ungovernability in Washington, D.C. There's also the second possibility, which is that the House will be able to pass the Senate bill with this demon pass monstrosity, and they'll also pass the reconciliation. But that reconciliation will not pass the Senate in the second round, and that will leave a situation of semi-ungovernability and a complete split between the House Democrats and the Senate Democrats, which has been maturing. In other words, a war between the two houses of the Parliament, in effect, of Congress, that would then be one of the symptoms of ungovernability. Similarly, in the British election, we hope that the Robin Hood forces will win out, whatever they are. The Robin Hood forces may turn out to be a cross-party coalition from Labour Party, Liberal Democrats, and even a few Tories. But what's likely, certainly possible, is the hung parliament. In other words, a situation where no party has the ability to form a majority as a result of this three-way division, Labor, Liberal Democrats, and Tories. Nobody may be able to form a majority because the three groups can't agree among themselves because of this triage principle going on in the background, because the basic demands of the different factions to survive cannot be met, and therefore they will not participate in their own destruction. Now, the The reason for this, of course, in the background is the world economic depression. And you've got to understand this. We are in a world economic depression of unprecedented proportions. It is bottomless, and there is no cycle that's ever going to lift you out of it. You get out of it when you change your policies to get out of it, and not before. There is no cycle. There is no mystic process that lifts you out of it. In the Weimar Republic, that is to say, in Germany in the 1920s up to 1933 and the Nazi seizure of power, we are more or less here in the U.S. at the point that was reached in Germany 80 years ago, 30th of March 1930. This is the fall of the Müller Grand Coalition and the coming of Brüning and his austerity dictatorship. And let me just say a few words about this. We've compared Obama to Mussolini before, and that, I think that's the face that he deserves. We can also, though, compare him to this faction, this grand coalition in the Weimar Republic that was formed in 1928 and lasted until March of 1930, so almost about 2 years, which was quite a long time for the Weimar Republic. It was led by Hermann Müller, M-U-L-L-E-R, 2 dots over the U, U umlaut, M-U umlaut L-L-E-R. This is the Social Democrat, Müller, and he presides over a grand coalition of all sorts of political parties, center to left, but a significant majority, and he engages in an austerity policy. In other words, the left-wing Workers' Party makes itself the vehicle of an austerity policy, and in particular takes upon itself the burden of reorganizing the reparations, that is the foreign debt. In those days it was reparations. Today it's the U.S. debt overhang, the part of the U.S. public debt that is owed to foreigners, where you now have the Chinese leaders demanding, like the bondholders that they are, that the U.S. engage in more austerity so that their dollar bonds will be maintained in value. The net effect of the 2 years of Müller is to discredit the Social Democrats and the trade unions because they don't fight for the living standards of the workers and the middle class, and therefore they become complicit in austerity. And this is what you see Obama doing. Obama does not fight for the demands of the black community or the trade unions or the middle class in general, right, which is the best way to put it. The middle class and its allies, the middle class and those who would like to join it, are being crushed under Obama by people like Geithner and Summers and Bernanke, who he now got reappointed to a second term. However, at a certain point, Müller fell. Now, under the U.S. system, you don't fall. But as people said, if Obama loses this health care vote, that will be the functional equivalent of a vote of no confidence and the fall of the Obama government in a parliamentary system. The U.S. system is different in the sense that Obama is also the head of state. He can't fall in that way, not quite that way. And the U.S. system is also designed to produce majorities in the government even when there's no majority in the population. It's an attempt to create stability. It wants to create a majority in any way that it can, because they had seen other options working. But in effect, we are now approaching with Obama, whether it's now in March of 2010 or whether it's in November of 2010, we're approaching the functional equivalent of the 30th of March 1930. And I'll just explain what's on the other side. After the fall of Müller in March of 1930, we get this guy Brüning, B-R-U, 2 dots, N-I-N-G. And I guess we're going to have to go through this next week. But this is the guy who essentially rules by decree and imposes austerity in the same way that Ravitch does. And my thesis is that's the Petraeus-Romney ticket. Petraeus plays the role of von Hindenburg. Romney plays the role of Brüning, and they take the U.S. apart, destroy social